Hello, friends. Welcome to another edition of Peculiar Heritage Foundation. My name is Chizo Adisa, and today is another opportunity to learn something new or to reinforce sound knowledge, something you already know. So, last month we had our maiden edition and a major Zoom meeting with a key guest speaker in the person of Dr. Adebayo Oke, and we glossed through the topic on who am I, with our guest speaker elaborating on the topic. So at the maiden edition, we learned about the concept of the Johari's window, which has four compartments, namely the open self, the hidden self, the blind self, and the unknown self. Want to know more about it? Check the description box below for the link to the Peculiar Heritage maiden edition program we had. So through 1 Peter 2:9, we learned that as a peculiar child of God, you are an extraordinary person with a special possession given to you by God as the groundwork for your success in life. So our guest speaker also simplified on who we are as children of God using this key verse. He mentions that we are people set apart as a vessel to be used for a unique purpose. That is who you are. Once you surrender your life to Jesus, that's just an explanation of who you are. So it's so sad that we couldn't get the recorded version of that particular meeting, which was on a Zoom call. So subsequent ones will be recording them and posting it here on YouTube. Now today we'll begin by exploring a very crucial topic based on a relationship every young person and adult alike needs to actively engage. And the topic is mentorship. Mentorship. Did you know that everyone has a mentor? Formal or informal, active or passive. Whether you know it or not, you all have a mentor. We all have mentors, in fact. Okay, now how could that be? Watch this video to the end and I'll be telling you why you have a mentor. So another quick question. Why should everyone have a mentor? Now I mean a formal, conscious, active and mutually agreed upon mentor. Before I answer that question, let's get into today's program. First, I would like to do a brief rundown of my story. This is incredibly important because I'd like you to know that I haven't always been sociable and outgoing, and I'm still not as such. However, a lot of things have changed about me, especially in the last 2 years. Many acquaintances and people who have known me since my secondary school days and higher institution days would hardly believe I can be out here doing what I'm currently doing. And that's because I had been a chronically shy introvert. I kept to myself a lot. I was fearful, I was easily intimidated. I'm sure you get the drift. But right now, I wouldn't say I've totally overcome all of that, but I can confidently tell you that I'm miles away from the person I used to be 5 years, 10 years, and especially 2 years ago. Have I changed in any way? Physically? Probably not significantly. But the major change that began started from my mind. Someone once said that the mind is a terrible thing to waste, and that's absolutely true. As the Bible clearly states in Proverbs 23 verse 7, that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So it is evident that we all eventually become what we think about. For instance, if you think that you have the capacity to love others, sure you will manifest it without a doubt. And if you think you're an excellent student who would make straight A's in any examination you write, I can assure you, you won't fall short of that. And sadly, it also applies to negative thoughts. Dwell on them long enough and it will become a stronghold in your mind, reinforcing those negative beliefs and thought patterns. Now, the idea of founding an NGO isn't a decision that came out of the blues. It had always been in the DNA of what I was meant to do. Okay, ever since I became aware of myself as a younger child, I used to love teaching younger children younger than I am in my vicinity in those days. I would gather them, 5 to 10 of them during holidays, to teach them my favorite subject, English. And then as a young adult, when I gave my life to Christ newly, I was inclined to preaching the gospel, to sharing the good news with people and all. And even right now, I still do so. More precisely, I've had the strong urge to set up an NGO as far back as 10 years ago. I went through my old journals sometime last year and found a 2012 journal that I had written and elaborated on how I would love to start an NGO centered on youth development and on and on. I even wrote some details and all. But what happened? What actually happened? I couldn't translate the desire into reality. Why? Because I had not yet created the right mental conditioning to do so. And what made the conditioning possible is none other than the presence of mentorship. Presently, I have about 3 mentors and plus other forms of mentoring. So the books you read, the people you listen the most to, the music you listen to, the messages you play, the TV programs you stay glued to, the social media handles you spend so much of your time on, your sports superstars, your role models, okay? All of these people are your mentors, whether you like it or not. So you see why you're already being mentored, knowingly, unknowingly, most of the time. So even if you don't have a formal mentor and all of that, we all listen to music, we all watch TV programs, we all go on the social media. What do you give your attention to? Those are the things mentoring you. So I've answered the question I asked at the beginning, okay? So everyone has a mentor. And armed with this realization, you now need to be deliberate about what you allow to influence you. Be mindful of what you watch, what you read, who you seek advice from, and those you expose yourself to, the kind of friends you keep, okay? Do these role models, do these things you expose yourself to, does your interaction with all of these things glorify God? Is God pleased with your association with all those things? That's a litmus test you must pass to be sure that you are on the right track. So for today's meeting, I would center on defining mentorship and what mentorship isn't. So the dictionary definition of mentorship is guidance provided by a mentor, especially an experienced person in a company or educational institution. It is a relationship between two people where the individual with more experience, knowledge, and connection is able to pass along what they have learned to a major junior individual within a certain field. So most times, the senior individual is the mentor and the more junior individual is the mentee. But I would like to add that the above is usually the case, but there are exceptions when a young person who has more training and more experience chooses to mentor an older person. Okay, for instance, a young university lecturer teaching a master's class where there are students older than him or her would have people who would want him or her to mentor them, even though he's their senior. But because he's more knowledgeable in the field, they would defer to him. In the same way, a pastor is not usually older than all the members of his congregation. Some elderly people older than him in the congregation may want him to mentor them, and he could serve as a mentor to them. So mentoring may not necessarily be an older person mentoring a younger person, but most times that's usually the case. Before we wrap up today's program, let's quickly run through what mentoring is not. Mentoring is not coaching or training. You don't have to pay for the services. It's not necessarily task-oriented, but relationship-focused. It's not time-bound. Coaching does not require a constrained set of periods of time. In a mentoring relationship, the mentee has the responsibility of driving the relationship. Mentoring is not a passive endeavor. That's the second point. But like I previously stated, everyone is being mentored one way or the other based on what you give attention to. But here we mean that mentoring is a formal, conscious situation where you specifically request for someone to become your mentor. So mentoring should involve frequent communication and a desire by both parties to meet, to learn something new. The third point is that mentoring is not a one-way street. In early times, mentoring was seen as a hierarchical affair where senior mentors pass on their knowledge to more junior mentees, their knowledge and experience. But the world has changed, and with it also mentoring. It's now a two-way street for both the mentor and the mentee. They both come together to share valuable information. The fourth point is that mentoring is not a cure-all. Mentoring can do amazing things for you. It can move you from where you are to where you hope to be. However, no matter how great your mentor is, no matter how wonderful the mentorship process is, your progress and success is solely dependent on you. The desire to apply what you learn would make all the difference. I hope you've got some value from today's program. The subject of mentoring is an elaborate one, so we'll be dwelling more on it in our next major and last meeting for the month. This will be coming up on the 25th of March, where we'll be having a Zoom call and a seasoned resource person will be taking us deeper into the concept of mentorship. I bet you wouldn't want to miss that. Thank you so much for listening all through to the end of this edition. You are highly valued and appreciated. God bless you. Till we see you again in the next video, stay joyful, stay fruitful, and remember, you are the light of the world. See you in the next video.